Okay, I'm jumping on a minute early because this guy is going to freak out and does not want to sit with me at all. This is Pepper. He is the oldest of the cats. We got him very early in our marriage, and he is the alpha and a bit of a butthead, if we're being honest. He's sort of the perfect cat for me because he will play. He'll lay on the bed. He pretends like he doesn't want to be touched, but then he'll lay on his back on the bed when I walk by, batting at the sky, so I'll come wrestle with him. And so he likes to wrestle with me, don't you, Pepper? Yeah. He's a good cat. He's probably the one that is going to be the hardest to ever tame. He just does what he wants. So, but he's generally nice. He dominates the food, but he's generally okay with all the other freaking animals, which there are many. So, hi, how are you guys tonight? It is Saturday, so we're bringing another pet. We refer to him as Toothless sometimes, if you know the movie How to Train Your Dragon. Also, The Nothing, if you know the movie The Neverending Story. He is a bit of a monster, aren't you? Don't bite me. All right, that is Pepper. Say hi to the world, Pepper. Your first night of fame. He hates me right now. All right. How are you guys tonight? I just want to share a few things with you. A bit of an update on the PPP situation because I did get that loan. And after I finally got the loan, I read all the stuff about how fraught using it actually is. So I wanted to share a couple pieces of that with you. And then also a bit on Profit First and how, I'm trying to use that for dealing with this PPP stuff. And then finally, a bit on the business model canvas. I think I told you guys that's what's going on behind me. I'm trying to create the business model canvas, which is a business design tool that's super helpful. It's been really great for me. So I want to share a few of those things with you. So what I will do first is make sure that we are broadcasting. There we are. There's Pepper. So let me share a couple of things with you. So I did get the PPP loan, as I mentioned. I received it yesterday. Finally got word from Bank of America. It is significantly less than I thought it would be because I only worked 6 months of the year last year in my company. The other 6 months was with Casetext. And so my income just did not reflect. But because I wasn't a seasonal business, they wouldn't let me pick a different set of months. It was really sort of obnoxious, actually. So the amount that I ended up getting was about half of my regular income. So now the question is, how can I spend it? This is an article. This is a moving target, and it's freaky. Because if you do this wrong, you're subject to criminal liability. And so this thing, it's actually caused sort of the things that have changed have caused it has caused this chilling effect in companies actually distributing the money. I saw there was a lawsuit that was from a company that had gotten $750,000 in PPP loans. They're actually suing the government for being so unclear. The issue is, how do you have criminal liability tied to something that is so unclear, right? There's this question of what's reasonable and what's necessary, but how do you get to the mens rea required to actually be illegal, right? The use to be illegal. So it's really confusing. What I've tried to figure out is, so the most that a person can get, a sole proprietor can get, is $100,000 a year, right? After that, you can't pay yourself that much anymore. You don't, that person who earns more than 100,000, as I understood it, you couldn't even apply for PPP support. So the most that you could earn if you're a sole prop is $8,000 a month. So can I pay myself from that money that came over up to $8,000 a month? Can I pay myself $4,000 from my business and the other $4,000 from the PPP money? It's all really confusing. It has to do with, do you have enough capital to get through this thing? And if not, then why are you asking for it in the first place? But of course, just because I have enough capital for the next couple of months doesn't mean I will for the couple of months after that. So there's this whole confusing cash flow thing. I would encourage you guys to read up about it. It's a moving target. This is a really recent article. And it digs into the craziness. So the thing that I am using to try to figure out the math, I've talked about this a couple times, is Profit First. And let me share this with you. If you guys have not read Profit First, I highly recommend it. There's stuff about it that's annoying. He tells you to have essentially like 40 different bank accounts or something. It's like 12 or something. It's an insane number of bank accounts, and I feel great pity for the accountant who has to reconcile all of that for you. But the thing I like about the way he approaches it is these percentages. These are target percentages, allocations of your revenue based on how much you're making. So basically what he wants is, as your company gets bigger and bigger, he wants you doing less and less of the CEO work up to 0%, right? When you get above $10 million in your business, you shouldn't be doing anything that you could hire somebody else to do. You should only be running the business. And what you see on here is that the profit goes up as time goes on, right? He's trying to get you to the point that you've totally withdrawn from the company. It's just generating profits for you. And so if you're down here, most sole props obviously are in this area, in the 0 to 250 range. About 50% of your revenue should go to you. So that starts to get really interesting math. I think for the purpose of PPP, I will be able to use this bracket, use this column to say, here's what my allocations were based on this accounting system. So if it ever comes up, I can say, look, I paid myself 50% of revenues, and part of that, because I didn't get up to $8,000 or what. So to get $8,000, I would have to, my business would have to bring $16,000 in revenue, to then get to the 50%. So if in a month instead I got to $12,000 in revenue, well, now I can use the difference from what I understand from the PPP loan. I don't know if this is totally right, but it's going to force me to finally be really dedicated to the PPP system and to the Profit First system and to good bookkeeping. So I would recommend that to you guys. I think I just shared the charts with you. So those are the charts, the images that come from the book Profit First. So I recommend that. The last thing I wanted to do just for a few minutes here, and you guys feel free to tell me this is too nerdy and you don't want to watch this, but this is a tool that I found. A really smart lawyer on the Twitters sent me over to this. This is called the Business Model Canvas. And this is what I've been working on this wall behind me. So I'm going to share this with you just quickly. So if you're at the position that you're trying to figure out how to improve your business and what it's for, this is a really good tool to do that. So let me tell you about that. Look at the chart here real quick and I'll tell you what they are. So you can do a back of the napkin business model. That's fine. If you want to figure out who's it for and what am I giving them, that's enough. This is taking it to the next level. For me, Lawyer Forward has been around for 7 years, and it's about time that I turned it into an actual business. And if you've gotten to the point where your revenues are above 250 using the PPP model, I would definitely say it's time for you to figure out what your business is for, right? And to figure out how you're going to grow that over the long term. So I've been doing some 5 and 10 year planning. Pepper's mad. Hold on. Pepper wants out of the room. I think he thinks he's getting fed, which is not true. So that's hilarious. So anyway, so broadly speaking, the way this chart works, and I'm going to move my image here so you can see it. Give me 1 second. So what you see on here is largely on the right. The way this thing is structured is on the right. This is the demand side, right? This is the customer side. And on the left, this is the supply side. This is how you meet customer needs. And then the middle thing is just like, what do you do for people? Okay. What is the thing that your supply chain delivers for people who need something? And so as you look across this, I like how this graph made me think of things that I wouldn't think. We tend to think of only one side or the other. We tend to be bad at thinking of both. Maybe this is just true of lawyers, maybe it's true of everyone, but we tend to look at one side or the other and not balance them out and really understand what our value proposition is. So just very briefly, I will tell you what these different areas are. So customers has to do with your different user types. Who are your different kinds of customers? In my case, I serve lawyers and the legal tech companies that serve those lawyers, right? And as the company grows, theoretically, it will become, I like that bridge between tech companies and small professional firms. So I might get into a vertical outside of legal, in which case I would change that customer side. The customer relationships, that has to do with, if I look back at my own chart, that has to do with how you're creating build, keep, grow. How are you keeping those customer relationships and how are you growing them? And then channels has to do with how you're communicating with them. So what's your sales channel? Is it, is your communication channel Facebook? Are they purchasing on your website? How are you maintaining them? What are your channels for keeping them in the loop? And of course, your revenues are just the different products that you're selling. What kind of money are you getting from what deliverables? Then on the left, this is the supply side. Again, as a supply chain nerd, I tend to focus a lot on this side. Your key partners has to do with not everything has to be in-house. This is the big argument from the book, is stop trying to do everything in-house. I was on a webinar this last, was it yesterday? And I went into a practice management sort of thinky group, like a think tank about practice management. And it was fascinating to me that we never talked about collaboration. We talked about, document management and a little bit about workflow management, which is a whole thing that irritates the crap out of me because we don't talk about that much. But it was mostly document management, dressed up as practice management. And the word collaboration never came up. It is true that a lot of the lawyer-specific tools are not good for collaboration. If you want to get somebody to help you with your company outside, it's really hard to assign. That's why I always used Asana, is because I can put stuff outside. It's really unusual the way lawyers try to do everything ourselves. Even in professional services, it's weird. My wife worked at an orthodontist, and they would send out, x-rays for interpretation. They would hire out for, the creation of the equipment that goes into people's mouths, the different hardware. They would send one job, they even outsourced their HR. All HR work, they send it out to an outsource. So these partners, this is part of your business design, is figuring out who are the outside people that can help you. Your key resources are the things that you have that makes your company worth something. So what's your human resources? What are your intellectual resources? Your strategic supply chains, right? These are the things that you have that nobody else has. Then the key activities is what it sounds like. This is like, okay, if I'm a lawyer, if my job is to sell expertise, right? If I'm an expert attorney, using the dichotomy from the book, if I'm an expert attorney, then developing expertise is really important. So a key activity for me would be learning, would be maybe writing, would be teaching, whatever it is that correlates back to your value proposition, which is this middle piece. Your key activities have to tie directly to your value proposition. And then finally, your cost. This is your cost structure. What are you focusing on? Are you trying to get people, are you focusing on keeping it low cost? Are you trying to make it high quality? What's your cost structure? How does that impact the rest of it? All right. This is nerdy, so I think I'm giving you guys the link to the business model Canvas page on there. I hope you guys will go look at it. You can watch YouTube videos about how to use it. These are the originators. This is a company called Strategizer. That's where this book that I have, Business Model Generation, came from. So if you guys haven't seen me use this before, it's really great. It's a lot longer than it needs to be, but it's really great. And go look for examples of different companies, how they're doing this. And the reason I think this is really vital is because when you think too much on the supply side, right, the left side, the here's what I want to do all day, here's the training that I have, here's the product I was taught to do in law school, you really detach from the users, from the customers. You got to figure out, do people even want that thing? This is a big question in law because we talk about this access to justice thing, but that I've shared this before, the article from Milan Markovic, it's like, actually, there's not a ton of demand for bespoke legal services. It's only a certain crowd. And so if you don't know that, you're out here, whiffing in the wind, right? Trying to figure out how to hit this baseball that nobody wants you to hit, right? You've got to figure out where the need is and tie that to it. And then on the flip side, if you're too customer-centric and you're only thinking about, I'm selling, then you're in the churn, right? You're just doing the same thing over and over again. You're not building a supply side that makes it so you can deliver this stuff more cheaply. So, to give you the example that I'm dealing with, I'm writing. Companies are hiring me to write. And of course, that's a lot of me, right? If I'm the one having to create the stuff, that's not a company. That's me working as a freelancer, basically. And that's not right for my model. In the book, I talk about, do you want to be an expert freelancer or do you want to be a audience-focused solopreneur? I'm the audience type. I'm an audience builder. I'm not trying to be a deep expert and focus on one problem. I'm trying to focus on people, being lawyers and the legal tech companies that serve them. That's who I care about. And so it's not appropriate for me to be the artist, to be the one putting the work out like that. And so I've got to figure out how to scale that. Well, if I don't figure out my left side, then I'm never going to get there. I can't just say, oh, I sell to legal tech. I help legal tech companies communicate better to solo and small firm attorneys. That's not enough, right? That's my value proposition. That's my audience. But it doesn't say anything about my supply side. It can't just be me. That's just not consistent with my model. So anyway, that's a lot of nerdiness. I hope you guys will do. You have an opportunity right now, whether by necessity, I'll be honest, most of this is being driven by the PPP stuff and having to be really detailed with my money and figuring out where everything goes, really getting into profit first and having to figure out if I were running my business like a business, if this is my 5-year plan behind me, if this is my 5-year plan, well, what do the steps look like? And then I'm doing the getting to know process that David Baker talks about. Is that right? David C. Baker? Is that what his name is? I totally forgot. Sorry, the Business of Expertise book. What he talks about is, instead of feeling like a fraud, instead of saying, here's my company that I want in 5 years, holy crap, I suck, because I have felt that this last week. Then instead I can say, well, these are the steps. I've got 5 years to get there. These are the competencies I need. And where I have competency gaps, I can create key partnership relationships, right? So I'm thinking about the supply side as well as the demand side. So nerdy, but if you're a business owner, this is what you do. So I hope you guys will spend some time with that. Finally, remember that tomorrow Nick and I are doing the Ask Twinsies session. The way it works, if you haven't seen it yet, is you guys ask questions. Some of them are ridiculous. Some of them are official and real and law-y. No matter what happens, Nick and I are going to give really stupid advice. It's sort of a train wreck. So I hope you guys will participate. All you have to do is post questions, use the Ask Twinsies hashtag, and we will find it, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter. I guess kids are on other socials. I don't even know. Does TikTok have hashtags? I don't know what the rules are. So I hope you guys will post some of that. Pepper says good night. He really doesn't care that you exist or that I do. In fact, you guys have a good night. I'm going to go eat some peach cobbler because I can. Good night.